Okay, fine. You have heard about compound interest. What you likely have not heard is exactly how it works and also why it's actually scientifically hard, why it is psychologically difficult for us to take advantage of it. So today, we're going to talk about is what compound interest actually is, how to take advantage of it, the science of why it's so difficult to take advantage of it, and how this actually applies to everyday life. So first, let's start off with a quick story. There was a man named Ronald Reed. He was born in 1921. This man was the first in his family to even graduate high school. He worked at a gas station for 25 years. He worked as a janitor and a part-time handyman at J.C. Penney when he was older. This man drove a second-hand car. He wore patched-up clothes. And the only thing that he was doing throughout all of his time is he was buying high-quality, dividend-paying stocks, and he held them all the way through his entire life. He had no financial advisor. He had no fancy strategies. And at 92 years old, he died with an $8 million fortune. Okay, that's not chump change at all. Now, my favorite part of this story is that when he died, he actually left $6 million to a local hospital, and he also left another $2 million to his local library. So, this man worked his entire life, a very humble job, was able to come up with 8 million, and he left it to his local community. What can we take away from this story about Ronald? The first thing is the importance of time and consistency. Okay, this wouldn't have happened if he did not have the time frame that he had to make this happen. If he didn't make it to 92, to be honest, this wouldn't have happened that way. And the second thing is how every single penny counts. So the takeaway there is it seems like he didn't have any kids, so don't have any kids. I'm just kidding. Uh, Lastly, my favorite part about the story is what this whole thing is all about, right? Why we invest, what difference it makes, and it has very little to do with buying Lambos and having a nice house and buying things, right? There's just so much more that you can do when you have money. So really quickly, let's talk about exactly what compound interest is and how this man who worked as a janitor and as a gas station attendant for 25 years ended up with $8 million. I promise you, you can do that as well. And if you're making more than a janitor, then you can make even more than that in your lifetime. So, really quickly, a quick illustration: a snowball going down a hill. You push the snowball down the hill. The snowball starts to accumulate more snow as it goes down the hill. As it accumulates more snow, it gets bigger, the mass increases, therefore gravity has a stronger pull on that snowball. As that happens, the snowball continues to pick up even more snow even more quickly as it's going faster. And next thing you know, you're down the hill, all right, and you've got this incredible speed that's built up that cannot be stopped, essentially. Um, so that is a physical demonstration of what compound interest actually is and how it works. So let's talk about how you actually do it, right? So in our lives, unfortunately, we're going to work. We're going to have to work. If you're doing something that you love, congratulations. If you have your own business, congratulations. The first thing that happens is you earn income. When you earn that income, you need to take that income, as much of it as you can, and invest that into passive income. You have earned income and you have passive income. When you earn income, all right, that's time that you spent to earn that income. You want to move as much of the time that you have to spend earning income into passive income. All right, so that you can eventually stop working to earn income, and all of your income will actually come from passive income. So you earn money, you invest into passive income. It could be real estate, it could be stocks, it could be bonds, whatever. That passive income is either going to appreciate if it's something like an asset that grows in value, or you're going to earn dividends. You could have a stock that does both, right? It can appreciate and give you dividends. It could be a bond that pays you coupon payments every month, every 6 months, every year, whatever. And then when you have that coupon payment or dividend coming in, you're going to reinvest that income. If it's an asset that's just appreciating, totally fine. Don't do anything. Just don't sell the asset. Allow it to continue to grow in value. And lastly, you want to continue investing your earned income throughout this entire process. So what happens over time is you're earning income, you're investing that into passive income. That passive income that you're earning is then going to earn more passive income. Okay, so you're going to earn interest. That interest is going to continue to earn interest as well. And as all that is happening, you will continue to invest your earned income. As an example, really quickly, you've got $100. Okay, I'm going to invest $100. That $100 is going to earn 10% a year. Let's say in the stock market, I buy Apple, it goes up 10% every single year. Let's just imagine. At the end of year one, I'm going to get a payment, or I'm going to have an appreciation of $10. All right. So now instead of having 100, I have 110. By the way, stick with me here. If you know this, I promise you want to stick with me. Okay. At the end of year one, you've got $110. Now we're going to earn 10%, not on $100, but on $110 in the next year. So how much is that? That's going to be $11. So at the end of year two, I'm not going to have $110. I'm going to have $121. Okay, I just added 10 more dollars. Okay, cool. Another year goes by and I'm going to add another 10%. Okay, so now I'm going to add another $12 to my $121. So as you can see here, the amount that you're actually earning is going up every year. Okay, as your asset is appreciating, the amount that you're actually earning is increasing. So the interest on your interest is increasing. Now, this, what I just described, was without continuing to reinvest your earned income. So if you were making enough to, put $100 in every month, right? I haven't even talked about that yet. And we'll see graphically what that looks like here in just a second. So just as an example of how this really works, with a real example, let's imagine you start off with $1,000 and you invest that into the stock market. You're going to also continue to invest $500 into the stock market every single month, okay, without fail. In this example, we're assuming an 8% increase every year on your money. Okay, that's what the S&P 500 has pretty much produced over time, and that's like over 100 years. So if you put in $1,000 at the beginning and you put $500 a month in for 30 years, at the end of 30 years, you're going to have a total of $689,000. Now, regardless, that's not really the thing here that's so crazy. What's crazy is that the amount that you contributed at the beginning, throughout this entire process, was $181,000. You only ever had to make $181,000. You only had to invest $181. You only came out of pocket $181, and you ended up with $689,000 at the end of this 30-year period. Now, what you can see here on this chart that's super important to recognize is that, say, at around like year 14 or so, you see where the divergence between what you contributed and what the actual value of your portfolio is starts to really increase. That difference, right? That area in between those two lines starts to get very drastic, and it continues to get more and more drastic over time. The slope of that line increases over time. Okay. And this is exactly how the rich get richer. Okay. Imagine you extend this line out for not just 30 years, but for 90 years. Just imagine how different that red line is going to be from that blue line. The amount that you're making is continuing to extremely outpace how much you actually contribute to your portfolio. Now, moving forward, let's say, you're having fun. You're young, you're going out to eat, you got Netflix, you got Spotify going on, you got Amazon Prime, and you're spending money, doing all kind of stuff. And those aren't the best examples, it's okay. Enjoy your life a little bit. But just recognize what it's going to cost you. So let's say you have $100 less that you can invest every month. Okay, so now you're at $400 a month instead of $500. Over 30 years, the amount that you end up with, okay, is only $553,000. Now, once again, that's not really all that crazy. What is crazy is that the difference between what you contributed was only about $30,000. Okay, now the difference between what you actually got back out of that 30-year period was over $130,000. Okay, so the difference between 36,000 and 130,000 is pretty drastic, right? So the amount that you're not contributing, right? That little bit that you're not contributing every month has a drastic impact on what happens in the future. And we're only talking about $100 right here, right? I mean, if you're out here and you're spending all kinds of money on tables and you're going out, whatever it is, right? You're spending thousands of dollars a month that you could be saving, even if it's just on rent, right? That is going to make a massive difference in how much you're able to accumulate and how much impact compounding interest is going to have on your portfolio over time. So let's go the other direction. Let's say you actually have an extra $100 a month that you're able to contribute. Now, at the end of 30 years, you're talking about a total of $825,000 that's in your account. Okay, now, once again, the difference between what you contributed, okay, that 181 compared to 217 is about $30,000. Meanwhile, the amount that you've actually earned difference, right, is 600 to 800 is, a little bit less than 200,000. It's like 150,000 or something like that. $130,000 difference again, basically. So, these little changes make a huge difference in how much you actually come out with on the end. And once again, we're using really small numbers here. If you're talking about thousands of dollars a month, the difference that you're making in your long-term wealth is massive. So some people are going to say, Keith, what are you talking about, man? 30 years? Like, even if I'm 25 now, I'm going to be 55. By the time 30 years passes by, like, how do I speed this up a little bit? Can we go a little bit faster? So obviously there are some ways that you can change the speed of this process. One thing that is obvious is buy the dip. And what do I mean by that? When you have big pullbacks in the market, whether that's the stock market or real estate or whatever, if you buy during those moments, you're going to get a better average of how much it actually costs for you to get involved. I'm not saying that you don't invest when the market is up. What I'm saying is when you see a dip, be willing to put a little bit of extra money in. And if you have something that's kind of parked, your money should be parked for opportunities like that, period. So if you can lower your average cost of all the assets that you're acquiring, then obviously that's going to have a bigger impact on how much you're actually returning over the long run. The second thing is to make more money. Sounds pretty obvious, right? But if you can increase how much money you're putting in to the market every month, or to whatever your investment is every month, it's going to have a massive impact over the long-term growth of your portfolio. The third thing, and this is third for a reason, is to cut your expenses. Okay. And another idea that I've left out pretty much intentionally is that you could increase your risk. Okay. So you could go for something that's not at 8% a year, but something that's at 30% a year. Bitcoin, as an example, has compound annually returned about 30% since its inception. Okay. It's not going to do that in the future, but in the beginning, right, if you had been investing every year that entire time, instead of 8%, 30% would have been that number. And I'll be honest, increasing that annual return has a massive impact on how this all works. And by the way, you can go to investor.gov and make your own calculator and do this on your own and play with the numbers and get real excited and inspired about all this. But anyways, to be honest with you, don't try to speed the process up. I don't think it's a good idea. We already saw how a guy who worked a humble job just did it. He spent his time in the game, was able to come up with 8 million. You don't need to rush this process. What you need to do is commit to it. So let's talk about why this is hard. Maybe you already knew about compounding. This is what you came for. Well, listen, our brains are not designed to comprehend the concept of compounding. Our brains are not designed to see it. We see averages. We really don't even see sums very well. And so it's hard for us to see that. On top of that, you won't see the impact of this until it's already kind of in motion and done, right? So you won't recognize how much you've earned on this and how powerful this is until it's done. And because of that, knowing about this is not enough. Okay. You can't just know about compounding interest. You have to get started. You have to actually do something about it. You have to embody the understanding of this information by being consistent and putting money aside every month into whatever asset that you choose. Another thing that makes it really hard is that you cannot interrupt this process. You can, but you don't want to do that. It's going to have a massive impact on, once again, those long-term returns when you have to kind of reset and do the whole thing over again. And I'll be honest, right? Life gets in the way. Anyone who's young or who's, got a family even, you know that things get hard sometimes and maybe you have to pull your money away. You want to do everything you can to take that money that you're investing and set it as if it does not exist. You have to act as if it is not yours. We talked about it in the past video why the best investors are either deceased or have no idea that they have certain investments that are around. It's because it's really important to not interrupt the process. So what is the actual science behind all of this, right? We just talked about how we have a cognitive limitation. Our brains are evolved to process short-term, linear cause and effect relationships, not exponential ones. So it's literally impossible for you to feel the effects of compounding interest other than through long-term experience. Another thing is that we have a temporal bias. So we have these ideas of short-term goals, and we have these unrealistic expectations, and we abandon the long-term processes that actually work because we're so used to seeing things happen in real time. All right. So especially the way that our brains are wired today with social media, with all the stuff going on with TikTok and so on and so forth, the shorts and all that, like even for you to watch this video is probably really hard. And our brains are being trained to have a bias for short-term outcomes. Okay. So it's not only we can't even sense long-term outcomes, but we're literally constantly being trained to seek the short-term ones. There's actually a behavioral process called hyperbolic discounting, which is a specific kind of temporal bias, which means that we prefer smaller rewards over bigger rewards later. And this, I highly recommend looking into this. This was fascinating to me. It is, it's insane. Like, even if, let's say after 52 weeks, I'm going to give you $100. But after 53 weeks, I'm willing to give you $150. Just wait one more week and you get 50% more. The reality is, that's a super extreme example, but even if it was like 10%, people will actually take the 52-week amount. And there's a lot of different reasons for that, right? There's the certainty bias, there's this hyperbolic discounting, and so on and so forth. But our brains, once again, are just not wired to take advantage of long-term outcomes. And this does not just apply to money, okay? This applies to everything. This is why people procrastinate, okay? Because in real time, do I really want to clean up my room? Or do I really want to sit down and read a book when I can't see the other end of that process and how much I'm actually going to get from it, right? I can only see the pain that I have to go through to sit and read a book, and it's not painful for me personally. But anyways, lastly, loss aversion. So a lot of people have invested in things and gotten burned. And those people sometimes never come back to investing, especially in the crypto world. There's people who bought crypto and just never came back because they sold at the bottom and bought at the very top. But in reality, by just not participating in that market, they're missing out on an extremely important part of their portfolio. So prior losses and potential losses stop us from investing and from starting this process in the first place. Loss aversion, once again, we've talked about this a lot on the channel. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already. Is the concept is losses hurt anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 times more than gains feel good. This is going to continue to come up on the channel. Okay, so just lock in with me. Okay, cool. So Daniel Kahneman, Nobel Award-winning economist, came up with this concept of the remembering self and the experiencing self. And he was trying to figure out a way how people basically describe well-being. How do people experience well-being? So we have two different versions of ourself that can potentially contradict one another when making decisions for our future self. So the remembering self, okay, remembers things that happened, okay, and creates a narrative around what they remember. And then there's the experiencing self that feels something right now, okay, and feels pain and feels good things right now. But the problem is that, first off, the remembering self can completely lie. All right. There's been studies that have been done where people will actually choose something that was painful for longer because of the fact that at the end of that experience, the pain decreased. Okay. So they would be more willing to repeat a process where they actually endured more pain for longer, just because at the end of an experience, the pain went down. And they're remembering stuff. That's all they remembered, is that it went down at the end. There's this thing called the peaks and ends effects. We remember the peaks of experiences and remember the ends of experiences. So the remembering self can sometimes make terrible decisions as well. But the experiencing self also can sometimes make bad decisions for the remembering self, right? So you are right now, you want a nice car. So you buy the nice car. And the remembering self might look back and say, oh, that was a really bad decision. That money could have been growing at 8% a year, 12% a year. And instead it's actually been going down for 12% a year. So anyways, I just wanted to bring out some of the science of how to look at these psychological effects that we have. So anyways, how do you win anyway? Well, first off, you have to get started, and you need to get started yesterday. You need to automate your investing. Okay, this is an easy way to get this going. I have a friend who told me that he opened up Acorns the other day, and all of a sudden it had, a bunch of money in it. And it wasn't a bunch of money, but it was more money than he had put in, right? And so anyways, it's super important to just automate this processes. A lot of the apps today have an auto DCA, an auto dollar cost average feature. Look it up, make it happen. Put $10 a month in there. Every time you get paid, automate that your investments are growing. Every month, whenever you have an opportunity, automate the process. Okay, that is going to make this super simple for you. You don't want to have to put thinking into it. Just automate it, be a robot, and get started. Celebrate the journal. Okay, celebrate and journal. Sticking to the process. Don't just celebrate the outcome, because you're not going to see the outcome. So what you need to do is celebrate when you do the right thing. So every month, did you invest? Okay, great. Reward yourself for that. Maybe that does mean, hey, you go get a beer. Just make sure that you journal and actually reward yourself, because once again, when stuff gets rocky, right, you're not going to think about what you did right and all the things that have been going well. You have to write down the things that go well, because the losses hurt twice as much, right? So the good things that you do, you have to document them, and you need to think about the good things that you do in terms of the process and not in terms of the outcome. Okay. Another thing you can do is create accountability, right? So do this with your friends. Start an investment club or start an investment group. Do this with your family. Tell your family that you're doing it. Join communities of people who are also doing this. If you need an accountability partner, go to my website, sign up for a call. I'm happy to talk to you about how I can give you that accountability that you need and how to think about this in a more personalized approach. You want to cut all unnecessary recurring costs. Okay, listen, cut it. Don't think about it. Go get one of those apps that allow you to cut all and look at rather all of your recurring things. Make sure that you're cutting those things down to a minimum. Once again, enjoy your life, but just know at what cost, right? Go to that calculator, investor.gov. I'll put it in the description and see what the costs are for spending an extra $200 a month on something that you don't need. Don't look at your accounts. Just invest. Okay. Just keep investing. Don't look. Don't look. If you need to log in so you can invest, hit the hide button on the balances. Don't look. Just keep investing. Recognize that time in the game is the goal. Okay. The reason that Mr. Reed was able to develop that kind of wealth was because he was doing it for so long. And that red line continued to get further and further away from the blue line or the green line, whatever it is. Okay. You have to spend that time in the game so that you get that separation. Now, why does this even matter, right? Because, you're talking about sacrifice and, dude, 30 years, all that. Why does this even really matter? The faster that you do this, okay, the faster you can retire. All right. The faster you do this, the faster you can spend your time doing the things that you want to do with the people that you love. Period. This will also determine the quality of your life when you are done working. There's a lot of people right now in America and all over the world who retire and are struggling. Okay. And some people can't go back to work, right? For whatever reason, they're not mentally there or whatever it could be. And now they're stuck, right, with whatever they made and whatever they saved up and just spending money until it goes to zero. And it might go to zero before they die, right? You don't want to be in that position. You want to have an abundance. You want to be able to leave a bunch of money behind, okay? Whether that's to your family or it's to the things that you care about. So lastly, right, this determines how much of an impact that you're going to be able to have on the lives of other people. It could be all about you, but it does not have to be. And in fact, even throughout your life, right, this isn't about giving money away when you die. This is about being able to give money away while you're alive and being able to see the impact and in real time create that impact and enjoy the fruits of that. We'll have plenty of talks about that and why that also, once again, is something that contributes to making your life better. But lastly, I just want to touch on the fact that this applies to every aspect of your life. This concept of compounding does not just happen in money. This happens with your health, okay, the way that you eat every day. All right, if you eat poorly for the next 30 years, guess what? You're going to have a heart attack at some point. I'm just saying. You don't have to, but it's much more likely, all right? If you eat healthy for the next 30 years, you're likely to be living good. And once again, right? What is the quality of your life going to be in 30 years? Are you going to be, hurt? Are you going to be limping? Are you going to be, you know what I mean? What can you do to make sure that in 30 years, not only do you have health at all and have a life to live, but have a good life to live? So working out, exercising, all of it, the way that you eat, all of this, guys, is important. So learning, all right? I realized a few months ago that if I wanted to read a certain amount of books, I can only read so many books in my lifetime. All right. And so I had to go backwards and look at, okay, how many years could I potentially have to live? All right. With all of these years, how many books could I possibly read in those years? And that's going to depend on, right, for every week, how many books I read, every day, how many hours I read. And I reverse engineered that to figure out exactly how long I needed to be reading every day in order to read a certain amount of books in my lifetime. Reading every single day, right? After 30 years, right? That's going to have a huge impact in the bottom line of your wisdom, your knowledge, the ability for you to take that and go help other people in the world. Communication, how are your relationships with people? Are you spending time learning from others and helping others, becoming a better person? Creativity. Are you doing things that spark creativity in your brain? Next thing you know, you've written a song, you've written an album, you've got a whole body of work, and now you're a rock star, right? So just to be clear, this applies to every aspect of your life. And I just want to touch on this really quickly because I think it's massively cool, this is going to be a common theme here, is that a lot of ancient wisdom talks about some of these psychological concepts and has given us guidance from well before we had modern science to affirm, right, this guidance. For instance, in the Bible, we have Proverbs 21:20. In the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has. Okay? Just thinking about saving up. Okay? Thinking about the future, right? Understanding that the future is worth a sacrifice today. Whoever is patient has great understanding, but one who is quick tempered displays folly. Okay, this isn't just about your emotions. This is about thinking rationally about how to create a better life for yourself and for others as well. Okay, I don't care if you're religious or not. This wisdom applies regardless. The Bible even talks about multiplication and compound interest in a very awesome way through the analogy of nature. But other seed fell on good soil and yielded a crop 160 or 30 times what was sown. Okay? That is almost directly describing the concept of compound interest. Okay? And it does occur naturally. It occurs in nature. Now, once again, you don't have to be religious. This ancient wisdom applies across time. Epictetus, no great thing is created suddenly. Okay, this happens over time. A jug fills drop by drop. Okay, if you want to go to the Eastern mystics, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Once again, pointing to nature. Okay, the importance of patience, the importance of persistence, the importance of letting time take its course. Okay, and I love this because, this whole money wealth game is a very spiritual thing. When you tap in to the spiritual side of this, it makes all of it make sense. It makes so much sense as to why some people get rich without any effort and some people stay poor their entire lives, even when they had an opportunity, just like Ronald Reed. Now, moving on. For if you want to learn more about this, you can obviously read books. I highly recommend reading a book every once in a while. One is called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Once again, The Psychology of Money. Can't go wrong. Morgan Housel. One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. You have Deep Work by Cal Newport. He talks more about how this applies in other aspects of your life outside of money. Okay, it's a great book, great read. And Atomic Habits by James Clear. Once again, outside of the realm of finance itself. So listen, that's what I've got for you today. If you enjoyed this at all, if you got anything away from this, please like and subscribe to the channel. Leave in the comments below one thing that you wish you had done with your money that you hadn't done. One thing that you did do with your money that you wish you had not done. And other than that, stay tuned for the next episode. I'm super excited about these. And let me know something else that you want to talk about or that you want to learn about in the comments as well. But other than that, once again, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.